The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 162 of the Grove Podcast. Thank you for listening. Hope you're all doing well. And so Arsenal have booked a place in the FA Cup quarterfinals, hopefully against Port Vale, just so we can boil everyone's piss with having another easy game. That should be a lot of fun. And it will certainly go a long way to suggesting it is our year. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later. Yeah, we had a bit of a tricky game against away at Mansfield yesterday, which had some interesting talking points, even if the game itself was maybe not so interesting. But anyway, we'll be discussing that in today's show, as well as looking ahead to our Champions League round of 16 first leg away to Bayer Leverkusen. And so a full show. So anyway, joining me today to help us do that is Andy. Andy, how are you? And was it nice not to be stressed out to the eyeballs watching Arsenal for a change?
I'm doing well, thanks, my friend. Good to see you. It was good. It's been a bit of a mad, I think we were talking just before this, but it's been a bit of a mad few weeks on the social side, so I'm glad to get back to a bit of normality and good to start the weekend off with a silky, free-flowing, absolutely aesthetically pleasing win.
Okay, so you didn't watch Arsenal Mansfield then?
I was just talking about the pitch there, actually.
Yes, that certainly was not free-flowing. Well, maybe a free-flowing of slurry from the cows that were previously on it, but there we go. So that will definitely be a topic of discussion. So yeah, we had Mansfield away, and we won 2-1 thanks to some thunder bastards from Madueke and Eze. And before we get onto your sort of highlights, lowlights, the first thing to note was the team, and really interesting to hear your thoughts on what formation we were playing. But yeah, massively changed, which we were expecting. A lot of rotation. It's the cup. It's against Mansfield away. We've been a lot of players have had a lot of minutes and we need to rest them. So it was like Kepa, Salmon, Mosquera, Calafiori, Norgard, Havertz, Trossard, Madueke, Dowman, Martinelli, and Jesus. And the likes of Rice, Mendy, Big G, and Raya weren't even anywhere near to be seen. And on the bench, no Saliba still, whether he had played or not. Yeah. I think they're still resting his ankle. Don't know if that's a concern or not. We'll see against Leverkusen. Martin Odegaard, who we know is out, and Ben White. And then there was also the interesting thing that we found out only on Friday was about MLS being suspended after 2 yellows in the previous rounds. And then I think the biggest story was obviously around Max Dowman and Marli Salmon, both age 16. I think it's the first time a Premier League team has put two 16-year-olds to start a competitive fixture in any competition. So good for you, Arsenal. Still promoting the youth. So anyway, when you saw that lineup, what on earth did you think?
You kind of touched on it. I mean, the priority for me, and I'm sure yourself and most Arsenal fans, was obviously getting that rest and rotation. It's been pretty much non-stop. Do you know what the weirdest thing I found myself thinking the other day was, when's the next international break? And I hate international breaks, but I was like, this just is honestly relentless. So it was good to see a kind of lower league opposition in the FA Cup coming up, so that we could rest a few players, and it was good to see that Arteta took the opportunity to do that. You've already mentioned the likes of Rice and Zubimendi staying at home, but I think also for the likes of Hincapié, I know he ended up coming on because of the injury in the second half, but I think he's just put in quite a lot of hard yards over the past 6 weeks or so, and his performances have actually really, really ticked up in my opinion as well. But yeah, I was just kind of, I almost scanned the lineup to see who wasn't there rather than who was there, and then was pleased when the likes of Hincapié, obviously Declan Rice, Saka, everyone like that was sitting on the bench. Yeah. And yeah, any lineup with Max Dowman in it immediately gets you a lot more excited. But yeah, I'm sure more to come on him later. But in terms of the formation,
what did you think? Because we were all trying to guess.
Yeah, I thought originally I put a message in one of the other group chats. I was like, it's obviously a 4-3-3, but that was more just because That's the type of system that we play. And then the more I look,
who were you having as the other centre back or left back, or who was your four?
It was going to be. I actually thought it was going to be Mosquera right back, Marli Salmon right centre back, Norgard left centre back, and then Calafiori left centre back. The only reason I had Mosquera and Salmon that way around is, although to be fair, Mosquera is not exactly experienced. He's more experienced out of the two, so you want to leave Marli Salmon in his more favoured position. And then I would have had Trossard and Havertz in midfield, which would have just been Trossard, Dowman, and
Havertz and
Dowman. Yeah. But then I was like, nah, that can't be it. That cannot be it. We all know Mikel Arteta, and he's not going to go that wild. And then I was like, oh, maybe it is. Maybe it's a wing back formation, like. And that kind of what it did start off like that, and then halfway through this first half, it kind of reverted back to the four at the back.
Yeah,
it was very fluid. It was, but yeah, I think when I first looked at it, I was like, "Are we in 6 up front? No, it's 5 up front. No, it's 3 up front." And you're kind of like trying to like put things together.
It was a 3-1-3-1-6, I think, something like that, or like it was nuts. Yeah, I think it was nominally a 3-5-1-1 or something like that. With Martinelli on one side and Madueke on the other side being nominal sort of wing backs, even though I don't think I saw them doing any defending. I think what was the most interesting part of that was Dowman through the middle, which was nice because we've seen him just like, hey, come on, few minutes at the end, play on the flank. This is like starting a game on that sort of pitch against. How should we say, and this is no pun intended, like, and this is maybe also a bit patronising, agricultural players, the ones that, we saw in the first 3 minutes, like foul. So to put him right in the firing line of that was sort of quite interesting. So it was Norgard, Dowman, and Havertz in the middle, and then sort of Trossard and Jesus sort of up top, and then the other two,
roaming around,
moving around. But yeah. So we'll touch on that. So,
Dowman in that position does bring up a lot of interest in like squad building discussions and questions, not least about our captain Marli Odegaard. It's obviously the position he plays, and I don't know how much longer you can not this season, but in terms of like next season, I don't know how much longer you can deny the likes of Max Dowman from more and more minutes.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and I've got a question for that later. But on Odegaard, and we got some news, or the ever soundbitey manager of Norway, so there's nothing serious about Martin. Whether that's a comment on his personality or if that's his injury, I don't know. But the most important thing is that he recovers completely and is good for us in the summer. Well, okay, well, thank you. We might need him before that. So yeah, there's a bit of a concern because he picked up the injury against Brentford in trying to prevent the equaliser. He did play 15-20 minutes against Spurs, but yeah, he could be out for a couple of weeks. Might be back in time for the League Cup final. We'll see. But on that, and you're talking about it brings questions about it. It's the interesting thing is it's not about Odegaard. It's how we use that role, because Odegaard is so different to Eze, so different to Dowman, so different to Havertz. So we've got four who, and so different to Marino. So we've got 4 people who can play that. Who isn't Rice and Zubimendi, shall we say? And we've got that across the whole of the squad. A lot of the players, we've got great depth, but it's apart from maybe Madueke and Saka and maybe some of the defenders, we don't have like for like depth. We've got depth, but if someone comes in, it's a completely different way of playing to someone else, and so therefore the decision is, well, and then there's maybe horses for courses and stuff like that. But how do we maximize that third man in midfield, like we're doing at the moment with Eze, who's more of a support striker? Havertz and Marino may be more akin to being less of that, and you got someone like Dowman who's just gets the ball head down, runs, dribbles, takes on players, creative and stuff like that. Again, a very different character. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how that
I mean, I see why you're saying that, but so all of those questions are questions for now for me. Like they make sense asking those questions now, but seeing 1 or 2 seasons, and you're always trying to temper your expectations and temper your excitement. But some of the things he was doing on that pitch yesterday were, like, quite frankly, ridiculous, and we'll come to it in one of my very specific highlights that I've got later. But I think
go on then. Well, go on. Give us your highlight. Let's get to your highlight of yesterday's game.
Well, I've got two, but I'll go for the kind of the Dowman, the Dowman related one first, because there was I don't know why, but I don't know if it's like a kind of autistic trait in my brain, but like there'll be something that happens in a game and my brain just fixates on it. And there was a moment in that first half, it was maybe like 30 or 35 minutes in, and he gets the ball in the box, and it was, how do I describe this? It was the way he controls the ball, feints his body, all within this. It was like a split second, and then he lays it off to Martinelli, and Martinelli, I think, has a left foot shot, and it goes straight to the keeper and maybe out for a corner. But I just looked at that and I was like, see the like spatial awareness to act in the way that he basically made a move just with his body feint, and it gave Martinelli space. And see, when I seen that, I was like, he is, for me, and again, I like temper expectation.
Arteta said he's the new Messi, so it's fine. Let's go there. Let's go. Let's roll with it. Let's run with it. It's fine.
I was just so impressed, and like, it's like you don't like. There's that whole thing around football with the eye test and stuff like that, and he just passes it every single time. The way he glides past players, but that specific moment in the box was like, I was like, that right attack in mid, right eight, whatever we call it. I think that within a couple of seasons, that is his position. I think the word
even more so than the wings.
Yeah, 100%. I think the word that comes to mind when I think of Max Dowman is inevitable. And I think,
I like it.
Honestly, I think in that right eight, I think he comes in and makes that position his own. So the questions you were asking, or the points earlier about, they all do different things. I think in a couple of seasons' time, our team will be largely maybe not based around, maybe actually based around Max Dowman, because just some of the control, the speed that he goes, but he doesn't actually look as if he's trying. It's just the hallmarks of an absolute world-class starlet. And I'm so excited that he's in an Arsenal top.
But with that, actually, the two players that could be similar, so you could swap him out, managing players, Nwaneri isn't that far off of what he does, and Nwaneri does something similar. He is more of a person that tries to take people on, and be a bit more direct and stuff like that. So actually, having those two in the team, I mean, it would be fantastic as well. Like, and the fact that he was able to not be that fussed about the pitch, because there was one moment when I think in the latter of the second half, Saka was dribbling with the ball, and it was just bobbling all over the place. So just to be able to keep on, and I didn't notice that with Salmon with Dowman. Yeah, when he was running with the ball, when he was taking players on, when he was dry. There was that one time when in the second half when he drove straight into the box and stuff like that. He just seemed to have the ball under control. I think the thing he has to learn. I think he could release the ball a bit sooner, but we don't know what structure, and also knowing where to play the way he plays, because there was a couple of times he was dribbling out from defense or dribbling out from a corner and think, maybe just lay it off or get rid. I know you could. Everyone your skill and all the rest of it, but sometimes but that comes with age and all the rest of it.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Honestly, I know what you're saying, but I don't. I think in a team that's built around so much structure, I mean, we've got the two best centre-backs potentially in Europe. We've got Declan Rice, one of the best transitional midfielders. We've got Zubimendi, who controls tempo. I think one of the things I like so much about the Eze signing is we can afford to carry a mercurial talent. We can afford to carry someone who kind of he's off the cuff a little bit, and I think maybe don't be doing like drag backs in your own box, but like
it's where you do it. It's play the game, because there was a couple of times that I noticed yesterday when we were playing like we do at the Emirates, and they said, well, play the field, play your environment. That's fine. If we're playing on silky grass and all the rest of it, fine, you can do that, and you know the ball's going to stay, and you can blah blah. Sometimes if you're running onto a mud patch, you think, I've got more tendency. You maybe just have to play the percentages a bit more. But anyway, these are like it's a minor point.
Yeah, and like no one's gonna know like the conditions better than the players themselves. And I guess I just like I've watched Timber kind of Timber run up, stop, look back past the Saliba for what, a season now, and it's just I don't know, maybe it's the preferences of football, whatever it is. Like, but I want to get back 10, 50, it's not much, but like 10, 15, 20% of our play back to that kind of instinctive, like trying things because it's in your head, not because you've been coached to do it. And I think I completely get what you're saying. Like you will need to learn an element of risk, especially when we go up a few leagues to play in the Premier League again. But I would be seriously concerned about overcoaching that out of him, and I don't think that'll happen. But I would just keep that greenfield, keep that like wet behind the ears like attitude.
Yeah, if he plays on a greenfield, perfect. I'm happy. We're not on the brown one that was playing on yesterday, but no, I understand it. Look, I mean, Arteta said, like, you know, when the ball is bouncing all over the place and you have people in your back, the way he handles time and space and the touches that he takes is just incredible, especially at the speed that he delivers those actions. But that tells you the talent we have. And so, no, you're right. I'm being nitpicky and finding something. Do you think he'll have an impact on the running or other competitions, cup competitions this season? Do you think if he stays fit, he could have a moment. He could be of use.
Yeah, I genuinely do. I think my brain always goes back to that last 10 minutes at Anfield. And we were 1-0 down, needed a goal, and who does I know we didn't have Saka that day, so maybe if Saka would start and maybe Madueke.
He had Trossard on the bench, but he didn't bring Trossard on.
Yeah, I guess on that right side of the pitch, I guess you could put Martinelli over there, whatever. But I always go back to that, and like there's not many more difficult games than away at Anfield. And he turned around and Max Dowman, because he'd been playing so well in the pre-season against other Premier League teams. He decided that the best shot at Arsenal getting a goal was to bring on Max Dowman. So if we're in a similar position in the FA Cup or the Champions League, the latter stages of the league, we need a goal. I genuinely think we might see him as an option, and that is the like how worth all the banter years would Max Dowman, 16 years old, coming on to like clinch the title. The only way it would be better for me would be if it was Bukayo Saka, but it's got that kind of fairy tale element around it. Hopefully we don't need it, because we're 1 or 2-0 up in every game, which is
there's a lot of potential narratives in this team for sure. I mean, in terms of my highlight, I'll actually call out Marli Salmon. Now, he had that one potential mistake. We will get to that. But also for him to come on and forget he's 16, and it's one thing being a 16-year-old winger or attacking forward, right? Just go and just dribble past as many people as you can, try and set something up, whatever. That's a very different to being a centre back against sort of like seasoned professionals on that pitch. You know, you got men against boys type stuff, because Marli Salmon is still fairly, he needs building up, he needs bulking up, and that will come over time. So he may be technically secure, but when you're playing at this level, it's the physical battle that's the issue. And on that pitch, the physical battle is the thing. And there was one particular moment when he was the last man or boy, depending how you want to call it, and I think it was from a corner or something like that, and he had to make an interception, he had to make a tackle or win a header. I can't remember exactly what it was. Otherwise, the guy was through one-on-one with the keeper, and he did it, and he did it with a plum, and so like, for him to come in and play that position, and to start off in an unfamiliar formation, to play with three at the back, and it's not like you're playing, I'm going to be with Saliba and Gabriel and Calafiori and Hickory, and they've got Rice and Zubimendi in front of me. So you've got players that who cover for stuff that all of them. He's got Mosquera, who's 21 next to him, who's never played centre back in the back three for Arsenal before. You got Calafiori, who is looking bemused, like, what the hell am I doing here? That was the most non-Calafiori location and game.
Not quite Bologna, is it? Not quite.
He's a thoroughbred horse, and the going was too soft for him. It was just sort of like, to take the analogy. So to suddenly put him in that, and then you got Norgard in front of you, and then you got six forwards who've like, I'm not running back in this shit. Quagmire. So that one thing again, 16. He learns from it, and even then, I don't think it was all on him. So I think he did really well. Did brilliant to do that. And I think him coming off was just because he did get substituted, was more a case of just knackered with 2-1 up. Because what happens is it's not just physically knackering. For a 16-year-old to be playing that game, you're as knackered mentally as you are physically, and that takes a toll. And you just need to be a bit more. I know we brought on an 18-year-old, so someone who's played who's played first team football. You need just a bit more of just mental sharpness in those last 15 minutes, and that's potentially why you'd bring him off. So I'd like to, because Max Dowman's going to get all the plaudits, but I would suggest Marli Salmon deserves it, and as they say, if you're old enough, you're good enough. So
and certainly not someone who strikes you as shy on confidence either. I think there was a moment in the first half where he was pirouetting in the middle of the pitch, and it's just I think he's another fantastic prospect. Like you say, he might actually benefit from coming through into the team at the same time as Max Dowman, because he maybe takes some of the pressure, takes a lot of the kind of eyeballs away, because you are naturally drawn to the more kind of forward.
It was like the MLS when everything them two last year, or we had Saka and Smith Rowe and stuff like that. So yeah. So what was your low light from yesterday?
It's kind of, there wasn't a huge amount. I think you touched on it at the very start about how kind of it was nice to get a break from the Premier League, and I just genuinely enjoyed watching the game. I think part of that was played into by Mansfield's approach. So I was kind of trying to have a think earlier about lowlights, and I think the only one that kind of was continually frustrating me through the game was Martinelli's performance. I think you're really wanting and willing him to do well, but I'm left feeling so frustrated. But I'm also at the point where I'm like, I think he is going to be moved on. I don't think. I don't know whether we upgrade both of the left wingers in the summer. I'm not sure, but I just can't see a world in which he is that it becomes that starting left winger again for Arsenal. So I'm trying not to go too kind of hard and harsh and stuff, but there was a lot of opportunities yesterday that he just, for me, wasted. Like the control. On one hand, like the pitch, yes, you need to give them a bit of leniency because of the state of the pitch. But then 5 minutes ago, we've just talked about how it didn't impact Max Dowman. And I'm like, It was just a bit of frustration about his performance. He just went down the blind alleys that we're used to seeing. Kind of, a few attacks that could have maybe got us a few goals early in the second half came to nothing. So I think that was my main low light.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think at least I know it felt like with him there was potential there to do something. Again, just the no end product. I was more frustrated with Jesus' performance. He was anonymous, no quality.
I genuinely forgot he was playing. I forgot he was playing.
Yeah, and look, okay, he's been out injured for a long time. He's coming back in, and it's just very hard. Again, we got all the caveats of what we said about the game and all the rest of it. But yeah, just anonymous. Not. Yeah, you're right. You hardly notices he was there offering nothing. So I was actually. Martinelli, at least there was almost something, and okay, again, needs that final thing, but at least he was sort of threatening, had a few shots, almost set up a goal or two. But Jesus, nothing. No, I didn't see anything that he offered. But so I just wanted to sort of bring that. But no, my low light is the injuries. Now we don't know the extent of those. I think we're uber cautious at the moment. So it's literally you feel anything, especially in a game like that, on a pitch like that, where it was be exacerbated, you just say, right, yeah, just sit down, come off. We're not going to stretch you. We don't not in a game like this. It's not a primary concern. So I think but we don't know, because we saw Trossard sort of do something very similar. Sort of thought it was innocuous coming off against Villa, or he's come off. I think there was another Villa away and then another game at home. You just never know. There's a lot of innocuous things that all of a sudden turn into 2-3 weeks. A bit like Saliba, you don't really notice. Maybe less concerned with him, but then Calafiori, he's there doing the old pinching, touching his hamstring. Again, is it something 2 to 3 weeks versus is it just massively precautionary. We're not going to know. But I'll be, especially Calafiori, be surprised if we see him anywhere near Leverkusen.
Yeah.
Luckily we have got Hencapié, we've got MLS, and MLS is okay in Europe. He seems to be okay in Europe, but we're getting to that season. This was the last, in inverted commas, easy game, so to speak, before it. Yeah, so it's frustrating. And I'm not going to call out the players, because you can't be annoyed at a player for getting injured. It's more just frustrating, just the potential knock-on effect. So
yeah, you can't, like you said, you can't be annoyed at Calafiori, but the thing, when he did go down yesterday, I was like, oh God, here we go again. And it just reminded me of that question you asked me a few weeks ago. I think someone had asked you about, is it time to move on from him?
Yeah.
And it's the first time, I don't know, maybe it's because I hadn't been thinking that way, but maybe again, because the question was planted, it was kind of almost like it made me feel a certain way when it happened yesterday. But I was a wee bit like, not again. Like, this is where we really need you, because it's the knock-on effect on Hencapié. Do you know what I mean? We said that he was the direct replacement, and he's going to be the direct replacement because Arteta just doesn't trust MLS in the bigger games. So it's heartbreaking, it's gutting, but it is slightly frustrating that through no fault of his own that he just can't stay fit.
It could be entering Tomiyasu territory, which would be such a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Such a shame. So we'll see. And Arteta said, look, both of them had little niggles. They weren't comfortable enough to continue. We knew this was a possibility. Looking at the conditions we were playing today, we had to take them off. So maybe he's just sort of, again, it's that real cautious approach. But we've seen with the cautious approach, it's 1 or 2 weeks. So and we can't, in 1 or 2 weeks we're playing, Man City in the Carabao Cup final, sort of thing. And we got a massive game against Everton and a couple of games against Leverkusen. So let's see. So there we go. So look, in terms of the match stats, I mean, and possession that you'd expect, we dominated 67% to their 33. The interesting was, like, XG, they had 1.99 to our 2.46. They had 18 shots to our 19. So they had plenty of efforts. And I think in the first half they had 11 shots in total, which is the most we've given up against any opposition in the first half this season. So and it showed the fact that our setup was as such that we enabled them to have that, but to their approach, it was like a free hit for them, and they sort of went for it when they could. They had 5 on target across the whole game. We had 8. We had 4 big chances to their 1. They missed their 1 big chance. We missed all 4. So I was surprised our passing accuracy was 84%, which was, I think, higher than the game we played the other day against either
Brighton.
Chelsea or Brighton. Yeah, it was Brighton. Yeah, it was on that pitch we passed it better against Brighton, but there we go. Maybe they were really concentrating. So we'll see. But so we did dominate, but the scoreline wasn't as dominant as maybe we'd thought. And this was your traditional old school, what the FA Cup is all about, magic of the cup. All the cliches were in this one game. The fancy dance from the top of the Premier League, playing against lower league opposition, and they're actually priorities to stay in the league. And Nigel Clough actually said, the manager said, their game against Reading midweek is a bigger game. But we played in a small, tight stadium, stodgy pitch, whole town behind them. Wanting to create a cup upset, and look, real David and Goliath matchup. And look, we've seen today what can happen. Sunderland losing to away to Port Vale, and Port Vale are actually bottom of League One. So this was really that cliche, and they almost turned out, but they pretty much, TNT almost got what they wanted, apart from the upset, thankfully. So how did you feel about this game pre-match, in the build-up, and then just how it panned out in the end?
Sort of kind of in the build-up to it, I hadn't given it much thought. I know that Moz was saying he was going down for it, and I was kind of like, try to get a wee last-minute ticket. I sent that message on Friday, didn't come to fruition, but I hadn't really given it much thought, to be honest, mate. But see, as soon as it kicked off, I think I referenced this at the start, I really enjoyed it. Like, I think partially it was because of the almost like there's no pressure on it, but also I think mainly was because of how Mansfield set up for it, and they kind of just like, they were like, Like, we're obviously battling relegation in League One, but this is our big chance and let's go for it. So I'd really like the approach they took. It was a bit refreshing from what we're kind of used to, certainly off the back of that Brighton game, which was a fantastic win, but turgid nonetheless. And it was just really kind of, refreshing, I think, to see a team just go for it. And like, obviously there's a massive quality gap, but there's something quite, I don't know, endearing and quite refreshing about the fact they were going for it. And I think a few of their players were actually quite good. The guy on the right, was it Oates? And then the guy in centre mid, I'm not quite sure what his name was. I thought they were kind of really tidy players, and it kind of didn't. I was surprised to hear that they were at the bottom of League One. I knew they were League One before we kicked off, but I hadn't quite grasped whereabouts they were. So I think I really enjoyed it. And to be honest, I did say, this is going to sound horrendous, but I did send a message into one of my group chats from a non-Arsenal supporting pals when they equalised, and I was like, I'm honestly not too bothered if we go out here as long as Saka doesn't make up.
I was going to ask you that because it was Oates on the left, and it was Reed through the middle. He was the other sort of unit. That was Roberts as well up front, causing a bit of trouble. So I was going to say that. This one could be relaxed. So if we went out, I'd be more annoyed. Not because we're out of the FA Cup, but just because it's away at Mansfield, and then like the stick that we're going to get and all the rest of it. But going out of the FA Cup, I'd love to do it. But if we didn't, and you want to do it because in theory, the quadruple is potentially on and stuff like that. But if you could say, well, take a couple of games out, give it. Well, I wouldn't have been, because we got the Carabao Cup final. I wouldn't have been overly upset. I'd be a bit annoyed, but not overly upset. And there were sort of Plymouth versus Liverpool vibes from last season about this, and you just don't what you don't know, and the magic of the cup, so to speak. But I'm with you on that sentiment. It would,
and I think maybe what was playing into that kind of relaxed feeling was also like, I mean, we were playing in second or third gear. Like, we just were. And, like, you're obviously looking at that bench and the knowledge that you can go up a gear or two if that's required, and bring on the likes of Eze to do exactly what he did in the end. Like, absolutely, what did you call it at the start? A thunder bastard or something?
Yeah, thunder bastard, yes.
Yeah, so it kind of like, it's a really, really privileged position to be in, to have that talent on the bench and know that, like, if the riches on the pitch aren't doing it, then you've got players like Eze to come on. And I think that kind of played into it. Exactly the reasons that you described played into it. Like, you're kind of looking next at where the gap and where the break in the season is, because I think everyone's priority is I was about to say is the Premier League and the Champions League, but I think it actually is in the short term, it very much is the Carabao Cup, because of who we're up against in the league. So I think I was feeling relaxed, but my overriding feeling was like, if we go out, it's not a huge issue, but I'm also not that bothered about the performance either. There's obviously a lot to improve, and we could definitely be a lot better. But I just get through it. We're going to need to knuckle the next 3 months, and just win at all costs. But
there's no point over-indexing like the point. I mean, I think you do need to call out certain individuals, because, like I said, Max Dowman played really well. Salmon played really well. Hincapie, when he came on, played really well. Norgard was solid. Eze, when he came on, he knew he got the memo. He knew what he had to do. He knew the job. I think the trouble is sometimes when you play second or third gear, when it's that sort of game, it's hard to then lift yourself to get into, oh no, we need to go for this. And even then, for players coming on, and at least the players on there, they're used to the pitch, they're used to the run of the ball and all the rest of it. And it doesn't become a football match in inverted commas, which is ironic given all the all the shit that we get at the moment. But I think sometimes relying on that. And look, had it been at the Emirates, would have been such a different story. Would have battered them 4-5-0. They wouldn't have had a sniff and all the rest of it. So that's why it's sort of like playing at their place is a great equalizer. It's one of those great levelers, and the beauty of the cup, as they say, and as we said, we've sort of alluded to with Sunderland, Macclesfield beating Palace and stuff like that, and it is really odd how all of a sudden the disparity between the two clubs is huge. You got First Division, Championship, top of the top and bottom sort of thing. It is huge, but it's sometimes just on a day, and if the players mentally, they need to be professional. So we needed to go there, be professional, kill the game early, take control, and we really didn't do that. And yeah, you're saying, well, I'm going to just try and manage my way through this. But sometimes, if you're managing your way through this, but you've got some guy on the other pitch who's giving it 100%, yeah, sometimes, was it to say that, hard work, what's that phrase?
Hard work beats talent when talent.
Yeah. There's a hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and that's exactly what happened. And you said they did give it a really good go. They played really well. They got enough faces. There was some robust tackling, a bit borderline, and they didn't give us a chance to breathe or settle. And what I was really impressed with, because you always think that their fitness come 75 minutes is going to tail off. Well, it didn't. They were still, and that's when you think, okay, our superior fitness, superior quality will start to tell. No, and I guess 5 subs each helps, and they can bring on fresh legs. But yeah, so that didn't happened either. So
yeah,
I do think if we took a couple of more of our chance, we could have won this 3-1, 4-1, but then they could have got 2 or 3 goals themselves. So so they stayed in the game. They made a game of it. I think it was just 2 quality goals and just a bit more, maybe better defending, a bit more nous, just finally got us through the game, really.
Just before we kind of move on from the game and the team, what did you make of Kepa?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think there was one particular moment. I think he came. I think given the conditions, I think he did fine. Nothing that really stood out. There was a couple of moments even when he came and was diving to get the ball from stopping it coming across the box, low down and with difficult conditions. Yeah, I mean nothing. I didn't notice in anything bad. Why do you raise that?
No, I was just wondering because he's obviously our cup goalkeeper, and like there's not many goalkeepers in the Premier League who can rival Raya. But there's I don't know. There's just not. I still just maybe it's because we haven't played with him as much, and we don't have that trust in the same way that we're used to Raya, and we know what he's going to do. I felt a wee bit like uneasy at certain moments. In the same way that I probably wouldn't have if Raya was in goal. And I was just wondering what you thought of his performance, because obviously there's the big question mark around who starts and goals for the Carabao Cup final. And I think not that Arteta's going to pick a team based on how I'm feeling or the rest of the fan base, but I don't know if the defenders slightly feel like that, then maybe it's time to not be the nice guy and put Raya in those.
Again, it's a bit like we said with Salmon. Like he's got 3 players in front of him playing in an unfamiliar formation. Arteta said they practiced that for 10 minutes in training. That 3 at the back formation. So everyone's uncertain. So it's, again, we're a bit for fear of repeating ourselves. The pitch, and everything else. So I think he did as good a job as he could do there in terms of being a cup goalkeeper. I mean, look, City played Trafford in goal away to Newcastle, and they did that in the league cup as well. It'd be interesting to know what Pep does for the Carabao Cup as well. I think it's if they could have a gentleman's agreement. Well, you play Trafford and we'll play Kepa. I'll be more than happy because we're winning on that. We're winning on that one alone out of the 2 goalkeepers. So no, yeah.
Did you watch the City game last night? I know we'll probably do like a cup final.
I was out watching 3 hours of a cappella. There we go.
That's so West London of you, Tabs.
my on a side note. No. My niece was at the UK varsity a cappella finals, so I was there supporting her and my brother.
Lovely.
So, in that, and it was West London. It was in Wimbledon, so she was repping Warwick University. So there we go. But yeah, so no, I missed both games, but I was following it in between songs, shall we say?
I
I
thought,
bet you weren't expecting that one.
I thought no, not at all. But I was like, yeah, I guess and my head went immediately to opera, and I was like, of course, yes, West London, the Italian heritage. But yeah, I'll need to maybe Google what a cappella is after, because now my head's immediately went to like beatboxing or something, which I'm sure
Oh
it's.
yeah, well, she's a bit of a beatboxer actually as well, and fever pitch. But then not fever pitch. It's not fever pitch. Pitch perfect. Anyway, right. Anyway, we're going off. Anyway, no. Anyway, what about the Newcastle City game?
No, I was very impressed by Man City and their kind of second string. Newcastle came out of the traps flying,
Yeah.
played really well, and then I think around, I don't know if Guardiola changed something around the kind of half an hour mark, but from there they were relentless and they were really, really good.
Okay.
So yeah, not that I'm necessarily concerned. I would more than happily play that version of their team than their quote unquote first 11. But yeah, I thought they were really, really smooth, really silky, really dangerous. And it did make me think. I was like, if we are up against more of a rotated side, which I don't think we will be, that rotated side still includes the likes of Tiani Reinders and Marmoush, who was 80 million, and Doku, who was what, 50 or 60.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that will be interesting. And look, there's that statistic about Rodri. Actually, their win percentage is worse with Rodri than without him, sort of thing. So,
Oh, yeah.
and then also it's Newcastle. How they're performing at the moment, not particularly great. So maybe there's an element of Newcastle making them look good. And then also, I think for them, I think City, well, a free hit, they can play with freedom to do that. And again, when you're playing with freedom, on a pitch that you can play with freedom, then that will help. So, but yeah, on a different day, who knows? So in terms of the match, like we've sort of talked around it, yeah, the first 3 minutes showed me what sort of mood Mansfield were in. There was like 3 solid tackles, not enough for yellows, but in your face and borderline, but fair enough. We had a couple of chances. I think the first one was for Dowman. Maybe he could have done better. Maybe I think he could have taken a shot earlier. It was from the goalkeeper mistake. We had, and then Mosquera had a shot, but then also Mansfield, I think, were the closest to score, like in the 11th minute, and they went close again in the 13th. And so, yeah, it just looked like we had no shape, no formation. No one knew where they were meant to be. The weirdest thing was our centre backs were playing as if they were playing a back four, so they'd really progress. And it's like, well, who's the you're leaving someone who's behind, because they're used to like people coming in and all the rest of it. So we were playing with 4 at the back, with just 3 at the back, and a lot of people doing a lot of running around because. And then not everyone's not in their usual position, so it's just so unfamiliar. So that's why it looks so disjointed, and that's why you can't over-index it, because you're saying you're playing with all these young players, unfamiliar formation, blah blah blah, the FA Cup, blah blah blah, Mansfield, and it just it looked very 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 bizarre, and that added to the entertainment. I'd suggest, and so he went back and forth, and then Trossard went off in the 37th minute, and Nkapie comes on, and as soon as Nkapie comes on, we go to a back 4, instantly look better and fine. And then very soon after, not as a result, Madueke scores a really nice goal. That I think he had a chance initially, was saved, went back to Martinelli, plays it on the edge of box, first time, left foot. Yeah, nice.
It was a stunning finish. It was an absolutely stunning finish. I love those. It reminded me of there's a goal Marco Reus scored. This is getting really back in the Champions League annals, but Marco Reus, one of my favourite players ever, played for Dortmund, and he scored like one of those kind of whippy across the goal finishes away to Galatasaray, and it will remain one of my favourite goals ever. And it kind of had shades of that. Not quite as good, but I love that kind of finish. The one that's kind of like Messi scored one of them against Atletico Madrid, I think, like about a decade ago, and it kind of like curves over the goalkeeper. I think it's one of my favourite finishes. Like, so good.
It sort of looks like a cross, but it's not obvious. It's obviously a shot, and it's one. I think they're very deceptive. It looks like a shot. It looks like the goalkeeper should save it, but it's sort of just the way it just curls over the keeper, just from the trajectory of it. Yeah, it was a nice goal. No celebration. I think it was more just a case of all right. Good, fine. We're running up. Let's get going. And then
Can you imagine the celebration, please, if he celebrates away to a League One team? Jeez, oh.
but then he has a shot a couple of minutes later, which he slices wide. So in those 2 minutes, he just sums up Madueke in one. And actually, if we move on to the second half, he had one shot in the 90th minute where it actually went out for a throw-in. And there's one of these there's one of these things on I saw on Insta, I think, for his shot, the one that I can't remember which team it was, a month or so ago, maybe no, I don't think we lost it, but anyway, and they do right. This is the size of the. They basically keep increasing the goal to such a size. This is how big the goal would have had to be for this one to go in.
Was it,
It has to be the whole size of the North Bank for that goes. But that just goes to show what you get with Madueke. He scores a brilliant goal against Bruges. I think he scored some others recently. He scored the great one yesterday, but then he can also spank it out for a throw in.
Yeah, yeah, he does feel like he's. I think what Jamie calls him Jorginho, and he definitely does feel like you don't quite know what you're going to get. But yeah, I enjoyed his performance actually yesterday. It was kind of very direct. I like to. He does get you off your seat, and he does commit players. And Saka beats players, and Saka commits players, but he does it in an almost kind of deceptive way. You're like, how is he? It's like very effective what Saka does, but it's not necessarily.
It's efficient.
Yeah, efficient. But the way Madueke does it, he kind of like you can see how he's beating his player a lot more rather than Saka. You're like, there he is, and then he's moved, and then he's round the guy, and you're like, how's he done that? And how does he do it every single time? But yeah, I like watching Madueke when he knows he's got the beating of his defender, and he has a bit of fun with him.
I think he does it more with his pace. I think Saka does it more with his control and his movement, whereas Madueke is a bit more not quick and not kick and run, but he'll push the ball past and say, "Right, I'm going to beat you from a starting, from a standing start. I'm going to beat you." So, but yeah, on to the second half. Look, 6 minutes in, Salmon's got the ball on the sort of our right, sort of plays it in field, simple pass to Mosquera, but I felt Mosquera hesitated, which then their player Evans, who came on as a sub, he sort of got it. Still a long way to go. Drove into the box and nice finish. Nice goal. I don't know who just for a talking point. Where would you put the blame for that goal?
I think the majority of it's with Mosquera. I think probably like 70-75% Mosquera. I don't quite know if he doesn't know what's around him, but he just backs off. I think if he's on his front foot, he either comes and sweeps it up, because he is a really quick player, sweeps it up and passes it away, or even if he just takes the ball and it's more of a clearance slide tackle type challenge, then I think that goal doesn't happen. Obviously, like Salmon does leave it slightly short, but I don't think it's
that short
to end up in that outcome. So yeah, I think assigning percentages, which my brain always seems to want to do, I'd probably say 70-30.
I felt Mosquera, it's that hesitation. As soon as he hesitates, then he's lost that moment. But I think had he gone with confidence to the ball and just cleared it, I think he could have got to the ball first and kicked it away first. I think maybe he was just didn't want to leave himself exposed, because if he did make a mistake, he was almost the last man potentially. If he was then like on the ground clearing and it goes to one of their players and they kick it back over. So, but yeah, I think there's been a couple of times recently he's just had that moment's hesitation, and then the moment's gone. So then it's about, right, how do I shadow this player, or how do I jockey the player into the position that I want him to be? And I think on one side, if he's doing it on one side, he's better than doing it on the other. And yeah, but the player did well and finished. I don't think there's a lot Kepa could do. A bit
of I know he's not played a huge amount of minutes, but I think you said earlier about like the concentration. Obviously, playing into your fatigue, and it's his first season, and maybe it's just a bit of mental fatigue. New country, he's obviously very young, and maybe that's slightly playing into, because I do know what you're saying about kind of recent performances. They've kind of, the first time I noticed it, because he was pretty much flawless up until, I think for me, was the Brentford game. That was when the first time you started to see a little tiny bit.
There, at least he recovered. He made some recoveries there. So there was a couple of times where there was one particular one. Yeah.
And then the other one was kind of on Wednesday or Thursday night, whenever it was, against Brighton. He had a bit of a tricky game against Brighton.
Yeah.
So it might just be an element of like more of the human side of football. You know what I mean? The side that we don't often, I mean, we know about, but we don't often credit it enough. I don't think when you've got a 21-year-old kind of Spanish defender coming over into a new country, it might just be a bit of teething problems on that, and that's kind of bleeding into the football side. But yeah, I think maybe a few games out of the spotlight might do.
Well, depending on who's fit, who isn't. But I'm not worried about it. I mean, like,
no.
And he's 21. He's going to be learning. Salmon 16. He's going to be learning, and he's had the most amazing first season. Like, what a bargain for 13 million or whatever it was. And he has stepped up. He's made big contributions, filling Saliba, filling in for White, Timber. I think there's maybe an element. So I'm again, it's not calling him out. It's sort of understanding where people are in that journey and inverted commas as they're growing. It's always hard as a centre back. There was that period where that if you come in, you have a good couple of games, but then if you play more regularly, then opposition find you out. They'll know your weaknesses more, and stuff like that. And it's a bit like when we had Rob Holding that would come in. His first two games would always be brilliant. Yeah. But then eventually, he got, if you continue that run and you're always relying on the backup, then his level gets found out, and that's him maybe regressing a bit, because all of a sudden that adrenaline for the first couple of games, and you can maintain that and you can be brilliant for those two games, but then you regress, and then opposition teams can figure out, right, okay, well, when you're, now that if we see him more regularly, let's target this, and then add that to what we said before. If you're not surrounded by the primary players, like Big G or Saliba or Timber or who's in front of you, you're going to be potentially more exposed. So I think there's an element of that. It's just part of that growing pain. And as I said, if you can learn without it costing you too much, then great. There is though one brilliant stat with him, and so this is why we should start him every game now for the rest of the season. It's because Arsenal haven't lost any of their 14 games when Christian Mosquera has been named in the starting 11. So he's won 12, drawn 2. And that's the best unbeaten record of any Premier League player when starting in all competitions this season. So, yeah, put him in the team. Put him up front. I don't care. He's starting with that stat.
So I did not realise that. That is, and it's not as if he's been playing small games either.
No. I mean, look, his first game was coming in for the Liverpool game when after 4 minutes for Saliba. So he's again, he is not Saliba. And not many people are, but as your secondary, and he can cover right back, he can cover right centre back, is brilliant. It's sort of exactly what you want, really, if you're, to do it. So there we go.
What better way to learn a lesson than when you win or when you progress?
Exactly. So look, the game continues. The usual thing I said, we had that really nice run and shot by Dowman. Keeper makes a good save around 54. We make a couple of substitutes. Havertz and Salmon are off. I think Havertz was planned. Was it 60 minutes? That's fine. And Salmon, Eze and Timber came on. That's fine. And then soon after, I said, Eze, what a hit! Norgard. I saw that Norgard fed him on the edge of the box, and then I re-looked again at actually Norgard's movement before he plays it. He sort of feints, which you don't expect it when he feints, and then turns and passes it, and it was a really nice way to lose the player. But then still, Eze just a couple of steps and bang, what a superb finish. And the funny thing is, when both me and my son thought this.
Wait, what are you going to say? Are you going to say reminiscent of the Tottenham goal?
No, I thought he sliced it miles wide. I was really surprised when he hit the back of the net. I was like, oh shit, because the way he hit it, and it just looked like just the angle or where he did it, it was just looked like it went whoosh like that. So actually, when we saw it, oh no, it didn't. It didn't sort of. I've had many a golf shot. It reminded me of one of my golf. I thought it was reminding me of one of my golf shots. It was like a real slice, and I thought he sliced it, but no, then it went back. But reminiscent of what at the Emirates or at that.
Yeah, not the finish itself, but see the kind of way he kind of manoeuvres the ball, kind of beats a couple of players. That was it his first goal against Tottenham at the Emirates. Where it was kind of like he finished into the bottom left, obviously completely different shot, but just the way he manipulated the space to give himself the space to enable to take the shot. That it just reminded me a lot of that goal. And I absolutely, I was right behind that goal at the time. It's one of the happiest I've been this season. So maybe I'm looking for similarities where they don't exist, but that's immediately where my brain went.
No, it was good, but it was good. It was sort of what we needed, and look, this is why we need to give him the ball on the edge of the box a bit more often, because that's what he can do. Doesn't need a huge amount of backlift, and there's an amazing photo. I never know the way the players generate their power, and then you see it afterwards after they've shot. They're sort of completely up in the air, and whenever I've tried that, yes, the ball has gone miles and miles by. I never know how they can, because it's how they generate the power when they get both feet off the ground.
Yeah.
But then to get the power and the control to finish like that's amazing. Because as I said, I was always a foot planted kind of guy, and place, as opposed to that power and having both feet off. It just is. There's an incredible shot, and it's So no keeper. The adage of not even two keepers would have stopped that. So or Donnarumma. So
I was watching a YouTube interview with it was Martinelli and Madueke earlier. I can't remember which. It might have been like Pro Direct Soccer or something. And one of them had said that they were basically just asking loads of different questions of like who's the fastest, to the way Soccer AM used to ask all these questions.
Yeah.
And they came to who's the best finisher at the club, and my head immediately went, oh, going to be Gyökeres. And then I think it was Martinelli said Eze. Which was really, really interesting, and like when you're seeing finishes like that, or the ones against Tottenham, you can certainly see why they think that.
I've heard Marino is also up there as one of the best finishers. I've heard that spoken, but yeah, wouldn't surprise me. And then we make a couple more subs, and it's 76 minute. That's when Calafiori goes off, and then we get this guy called Dixon playing right back for Arsenal. So where have we seen that before? And from Stoke as well. Did he come from Stoke? I know. Was it Stevie Bold when they came in? Maybe that's before your time, but but anyway. So we signed him, 18-year-old, making his debut. So good for him. And then Dowman off and Saka on, and then it still wasn't quite game over. Again, Mansfield, a few chances. There was I think there was one. There you go. Yeah, in the 80th minute, there was that one call where the guy got booked for diving in the box. Now, I think if he doesn't make a meal of that, that could possibly be a pen. It looked. I don't know what you thought at your time, or if you even remember it, but I just remember again. I was watching with my son. I said, "Yeah, if he got booked for simulation, I think." But I think it's one of those ones that it doesn't get the on-field decision doesn't get overturned, but it felt like I think it was. I can't remember who it was that got the kick on him.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was either, but it was. I'm not sure if you've seen the Man United Crystal Palace game from a few weeks ago, where Cunha basically gets slightly touched on his shoulder.
God, yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is.
Yeah, and like when you're seeing penalties for that kind of thing, you honestly just don't know what's going to happen. And I don't think it was a penalty. I think it would have been harsh, but it's one of those ones like if the guy's given, it's not going to get overturned, and if it's given, I probably wouldn't have been overly surprised, just because you've got those kind of big decisions like that Cunha one is where my head immediately went. But I think it's one of those ones that would have went with the on-field decision. No, I'm not sure how much his reaction played into it.
Well, that's what I think why he got the book for diving, because he did make a meal of it. So it's not. Yeah, and look, I think the referee did quite well in overall for that game. Maybe could have got a yellow card earlier, but that's fine. But anyway, it didn't manifest. So Saka then has a chance, and soon afterwards, and again, it's one of these ones that he went in and there was that chance to hit it with his right foot, and we've seen him hit it hard with his right foot. I think Leeds is the one we know from 2 years ago. I think he's done it against Everton. I think done it maybe against he's done it other teams. I've not seen him do it recently, and he can hit it hard and stuff like that. So I don't know how much the conditions played, but you sometimes see he just felt like he took too long on it, and then just I felt the right-footed shot was the better opportunity. And then he did take it with his left. Keeper makes a decent save, but we've seen the ones where he just hits it, smacks it high into the roof of the net, and I'm half expecting that. And I've not seen that from him recently, so it'd be a bit interesting why he doesn't do that. Again, you don't know what the conditions are playing, and maybe they just want to be more sure-footed. But 83rd minute, that close to goal. Even if you slice it a bit, just if you aim it between the posts, the goalkeeper has to do something about it.
Yeah, I thought the goalkeeper did have a few good saves throughout the season. Yeah, throughout the game though, there was a few. I think the Max Dowman one at the start, he got his foot to really well.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
it's kind of similar for the Saka one. But yeah, I think he probably should have scored, not least because I had I'd had Max Dowman on to score on my wee accumulator, and then Bet365 do a thing where I don't know, maybe they can get some sponsorship off the back of this, tabs, but where like the player that comes on, you're allowed, they basically count towards your original bet. So
the super sub. Yeah.
When he didn't quite score that, I was heartbroken because that was the only thing I was waiting on. And Dowman probably should have got 2 or 3 himself. So.
Oh well, not meant to be. They then had one last chance, but header was on target, but it was soft and easy for Kepa, and look, pretty much game over, through to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. As I said, where we're going to play for sure, we're going to get Port Vale, and it's just going to boil everyone's piss. And I'd happily go away there. Well, maybe not, having seen their pitch. They bring them to the Emirates.
It's Man City away at the Etihad.
You think so? Or the other narrative is Chelsea again, and we'll play them again, and we'll beat them again. But anyway, I think we'll worry about that when we come to it. And look, I think it was the Madueke goal was our 100th goal of the season. Was it Arsenal? And we're the first Premier League team to reach 100 goals in all competitions. We're third in the Big Five European leagues, behind Bayern Munich with 128 and Barcelona with 110. So
Fabian, can we get that tweet in front of Fabian Hurtzeler, please, and see what his reaction to that is? An absolute prick.
I know, boring Arsenal. It's scored 100 goals, and look, it's because it's partly to do with our record in Europe, and also we're going far in the cups, but. No other teams doing it. So yeah, there you go. Go and shove your boring Arsenal where the sun don't shine. And also, we've won 35 games in all competitions, drawn 8 and only lost 3, which again is nuts. By 8th of March, we've only lost 3 games this season, all in the Premier League. More than any other team in the Big Five. And I think it's the most wins in a single season already under Mikel Arteta. Previously 34 was 34. So that game some added to the just the overall momentum, shall we say, of the season, and the overall success will be defined at the end. But so far so good. So yeah. Anything else on that game? Any other players or anything else before we get on to the 3-word reviews?
No, I think we've covered it all, my friend. I think that was a good summary of I don't know. Yeah, for me, like I said, a really enjoyable game.
Yeah, really interesting. You like that. And so, before we get to your 3-word reviews, just as a reminder, if you can, a little favour, if you're enjoying what you're listening to, then nice 5-star rating on the podcast apps. So subscribe. Again, we're on Spotify and Apple, and we've got a YouTube channel at the Grove AFC, and all of the above helps with the algos and helps get us into the ears of the less fortunate. So if you can do that, it'll be much appreciated, and we do notice, and we do really appreciate it. So thank you for that. Anyway, on to your 3-word reviews, and thank you for sending those in. And apologies if I get your name wrong. And I picked we got quite a few, so I've just had to make a selection. mainly based on names that I can pronounce. So for on Blue Sky there was Mr. C the Gooner. Not, I know I get the first one wrong. I get tongue tied down. Mr. C the Gooner. Not that Eze. Very good play on the name. Terry G, taxing, tense, terrific. Not too sure it was tense, but it was definitely taxing and terrific. Onto threads. Ask Cannon Picks, aka Ian from the Grove podcast. Sloppy job done. Yep. Danny Mast, great contest Mansfield. Yeah, they did show up. Paul Latham, Dignity 18. Gunners, Sharpshoot, Stags. So yeah, turning them into venison. Thank you. Carlo John 70. Where's the grass? Chapper's Delight. I didn't. Fucking TNT Sports. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It wasn't Gary Neville, so I don't know what the problem was, but he obviously didn't appreciate.
I don't TNT at all. I thought they're one of the better broadcasters.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, this fair play. He's to their own. DJ Bucat, Mansfield maxed out. Wishful expat, and I looked where this guy was from, and he lives in America, so I think he had to get up early. I fell asleep. So yeah, the Johnny Man, Max effing Dowman, and Chris O 811 didn't quite appreciate our performance. Played like shit. Dubs for Sam on X said keep playing Dowman. Yeah, I think we're in agreement. Right time, right place. I think we will be. And then TikTok, Sparks in the hat, and Mark Franks 19. Poor but through, indeed. Again, yeah, I think poor in patches. But yeah, the most important thing is we got through. Okay, and then on to the Grove. Whale, as sarcastic as ever. We played today, ? Alistair, another ticked off. Yeah. Owen, the quad is still on. It is. Chi, one from Wembley. Yeah, we are, because these semis will be at Wembley. Moz, who was there, and I think he really enjoyed himself. Home fans electric. I did hear good things about the home support, and even Arteta alluded to that, about the banter and about how good they were. So I think and it was one of those ones where the whole town turns out and everyone patronises them. The small club, blah, blah, blah. But it was, it seems to be that, again, magic of the cup type event. And then CERN with when's the draw, and that is Monday before the West Ham Brentford game. As I said, where we're going to be drawn, I think it's either Port Vale, Chelsea, or Man City. One of the three. one of the three. There we go. And considering there's 8 teams, there's a good, highly good chance of us getting there. So thank you for sending those through.
Just as long as we avoid Southampton, because they're our bogey team, aren't they?
I will take Southampton over Chelsea or Man City. They're a bogey team, but they're shit. So it's fine. It's fine. And who else is in the draw? It's Liverpool, who beat Wolves on Friday night, and then I think Leeds were winning 2-0 when we started recording. So I'm assuming they're going to go through, and either West Ham or Brentford. And I'd rather have West Ham than Brentford. So there we go. And then the quarterfinals. Interestingly, like they're played the first weekend after the internationals. So if you're not involved in either the Champions League or the FA Cup, there's a big old wait between games. So yeah, but that'll be our first game back after the internationals. Okay, right. Wednesday we play Bayer Leverkusen away. A 7:45 kickoff, UK time, 6:45 local time, and there's actually a bit of a Arsenal connection with Leverkusen. We've got Pierre Hincapié currently on loan. Sign him up very quick. I think it's pretty much certain we'll get him. We had Granit Xhaka moving to Bayer Leverkusen in 2023, and then he went on to win the double Invincible there. And plus, Kai Havertz started his senior career at Bayer Leverkusen. He played there for 4 years, 2016 to 2020. So there's a bit of a connection between the two clubs. So what are you looking forward to, not looking forward to, as far as the game's concerned?
I think looking forward to. I mean, the Champions League has been a bit of a safe haven for us this season. I've really enjoyed our kind of performances in that competition, because I think teams just come at us a bit more, and it feels kind of less necessary. Like in terms of needing that pressure release, because we didn't have the Premier League at the weekend. We did have a bit more of an enjoyable game. But yeah, I think getting back into a competition where we've been absolutely fantastic this season, you do get a bit more space. So I think the games certainly have more goals, but are a bit more entertaining. But I think most of all, it's just looking forward to chalking another game off. I think I said earlier about kind of white knuckling the next 2 or 3 months, and it's just get another game off. Don't care how we play. I do care what the score is, because obviously you want to win. But yeah, I can't imagine how these players feel, because I'm starting to feel tired and drained, and all I'm doing is walking from the fridge to get a drink and then sitting back down on my sofa. But yeah, looking forward to an open game, hopefully getting as much of the hard work done in the first leg as we can, but don't want to disrespect Leverkusen, because they are a good outfit, and you always get a game in Germany. And I think, do you want me to do my not looking forward to now? Or
Yeah. This isn't PSV, so I very much doubt it's going to be 7-1 like last year. So yeah, what are you not looking forward to?
I think not looking forward to is kind of just continuing on from what I was saying. I think they will be up for it. You always get a game in Germany. Atmosphere wise, it's always one of the more tough countries to go to. You obviously referenced PSV there. We horsed them, but the atmosphere didn't feel that intimidating. But I don't think you can quite say that for Germany. Quality wise, they aren't. I haven't watched them, but I don't think they are where they used to be. But yeah, I think that atmosphere can translate into a bit more of an intense game than it otherwise would do if you were maybe playing in another country. So yeah, expecting another night of a lot of energy expended. So yeah, if we could go and get an early goal, quieten the crowd, I'd be really, really pleased with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, agree. So I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm fortunate enough to get to go there. I was managed to grab a ticket on Thursday, so I'm actually flying out tomorrow to visit a friend in Frankfurt first, because it was like ridiculously expensive to go direct when it was leaving it that late. So, but yeah, I'll be heading out. Moz is going to be there from the pod, and going to be a couple of other Grovers. Alan and Matt Stacey will be there. Alan's my usual sort of European travel partner. So great.
Matt's there today.
Matt actually turned up today, and with a picture of a llama or an alpaca, I couldn't tell, on the wall. But yes. So I'm looking forward to just going out there, another European trip. Always a bit of fun going to New Zealand. We're staying in Cologne, because apparently Leverkusen itself is nothing special, a bit industrial. So staying in Cologne, so go and have a look around Cologne. So yeah, so looking forward to being there. Another away day. It's always, as I say, always good fun, good atmosphere. In terms of not looking forward to, sort of a couple of things. Yeah, sort of I want to ensure that we make the second leg as stress-free as possible. So I don't want this to have a knock-on effect there, and therefore disrupt our league season and our aspirations, and to sort of have a Porto, 1-0 there, 1-0 at ours, penalties and all the rest. As joyous as that all was. Yeah, we just want to reduce disruption to our league season and those aspirations. I'm fairly confident we should get through overall, but let's try and, as you said, get the hard work done. But it's we've got Leverkusen away, Everton, massive game, won't be easy at the weekend. Leverkusen at home, and then we got the Carabao Cup final, so a really big couple of weeks. So with that in mind, I think we have to take this seriously, as we're not going to be as comfortable as 7-1 as PSV. So how do you think we're going to approach this game? What do you reckon the lineup's going to be, as a given? Again, Leverkusen away, Everton at home, Leverkusen at home, Carabao Cup final against Man City.
I think we just need to go full strength. I think they will, to a certain extent, need to play to get goals in this leg, just because we're so good at home. And I think, they'll come into it thinking that they can get through, and they'll have a plan for it. However unlikely that might end up being in reality. But I think yeah, I think kind of almost on that point as well. I was referencing earlier about the atmosphere. I think they'll come and they'll want to get goals. So I think that might play quite well, and make it a good night for our runners in behind. So I think, yeah, put Gyok back in up top, and probably despite his performance yesterday, I'd almost, and notwithstanding Trossard's injury as well, I'd Martinelli back in on the left. I think he's obviously fantastic in the Champions League this year anyway, but I think the game that we could end up playing could play quite well into both of those players' strengths with a bit more space in behind. But other than that, I think it pretty much just picks itself.
Yeah, I mean, if Saliba's fit, he plays. So yeah, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Hincapié, maybe MLS. MLS is played a lot in Europe, but now these are the big games. It's important, so we'll see. Then Zubi, Rice, and Eze, because I don't think we see Odegaard, and then Saka, Gyökeres, Martinelli. I had Trossard, but I forgot about the injury yesterday. So Martinelli, and I think you're right. I was sort of looking into this a bit in terms of how Bayer Leverkusen play. They sort of play 3-4-2-1. They play three at the back, and they have their sort of wing backs, and is the way they're sort of they usually play 3-4-2-1, and then in possession it becomes more of a 3-2-5, and they sort of try and stretch the pick. They put 5 players onto our back line, very aggressive with the wing backs. They got 2 number 10s doing all the creation, like working in the half spaces. So they try and overload the attack, but as you said, that then leaves potential space in behind. It can potentially leave their centre backs a bit isolated, especially the wide ones. So there's an opportunity to exploit that. Also then in terms of how they defend, they don't sort of go one-on-one. They sort of like position the play themselves to sort of in traps, so therefore they break, and if we break that press and break how they sort of defend, then there's opportunities there to isolate players, get in behind them. And you're right, they aren't the same team. They've lost Frim. So everyone, all Arsenal fans, sort of second favourite team for a while was Leverkusen, because Saka was there. We followed them. Want to beat Bayern Munich and so on. And when they won the double, they had Frimpong, they had Wirtz, they had Xhaka, they had Xabi Alonso and stuff. So, but they Boniface as well was there, Jonathan Tah. So they're not. However, Xhaka, Wirtz, and Frimpong, they're now back in the Prem. They're not the same team. They finished second last season, 13 points behind Bayern Munich. They're currently 6th. So they aren't that club anymore. I mean, yesterday they drew 3-3 away to Freiburg. They've actually got Bayern Munich as their next game at home. Mm-hmm. So, and because they're lying 6th, if they want to get Champions League for next year, it's always a bit odd. They're not going to win the Champions League, so they need to. They're not. So they need to think about Champions League next year, and so it's interesting how they'll approach the game, because I said they're 6th. On 44 points, behind Leipzig on 47. Bayern Munich have run away with it. Dortmund should be 2nd. So, they're in a fight with Hoffenheim, Stuttgart, Leipzig for the other sort of places.
Yeah, they're not miles off there either, aren't they? They're only about 3 points or 5.
Yeah, they're on 44. I mean, yesterday's draw was a bit of a had they won that, then they would have been a lot tighter. So they're 44, and everyone else is 47, 49. So. In the league, their home form is 1-7, drawn 2, lost 3. Okay, scored 25 against 11. So they can. They've got averaging 1.88 goals per match. So you're right, they do score, but then they also do concede. I think they're averaging overall 1.21 as well. So there are opportunities there. Their German form is a bit mixed: win a few, draw a few, lose a few. So again, it's They did have a winter break as well, so they've maybe come back from that and a bit rested. In the Champions League, again, very mixed. They finished 16th overall with 12 points. I think 1 point behind the likes of Juve, Atletico, and Atalanta. Finished above Dortmund and finished above Olympiacos on 11 points. But in terms of their results, they started off drawing away to Copenhagen, drew at home to PSV, and then lost 7-2 at home to Leverkusen. So hey, the 7-1 might be on. Who knows? So so the 7-1 could be on. Then they beat Benfica away. They beat Man City away 2-0. They drew at home 2-2 to Newcastle, and then so very mixed results. Sort of some really good ones and some really poor ones. And then they got through against Olympiacos. They beat Olympiacos 2-0 away, and then drew 0-0 at home. So sort of a bit odd. You don't know what sort of team's going to turn up.
No, exactly. That's exactly the words I was about to use. You don't really know who you're coming up against, because even they've played Olympiacos 3 times since the 20th of January, and in the kind of group phase they got beat 2-0, and then in the first leg of the knockout they won 2-0 away, and then they drew 0-0 at home, and then like you said, PSG was 7-2, and then they went away to Man City. So it looks like a very much a bipolar team, and it's not even split. Like, it's not even as though they're winning all their home games and losing all their away ones. It's very, very mix and match. So but I'm sure Mikel Arteta and the data boys will have an idea of maybe they had quite a few injuries for that PSG game or something like that. But that is
it's an odd one. And in terms of players that we know, I mean, I think people are familiar maybe with Grimaldo. He was there. He's a wing back. He's like got their most assists in the league. So he, and he was sort of dovetailing with Frimpong. Patrick Schick, he of the long goal at Hampden Park back in the Euro 2020. I think that's the only thing anyone ever remembers about Patrick.
Broke my heart.
Was that against Scotland? I knew the goal. Was it against Scotland?
Yeah, it was against Scotland. Yeah.
Oh god, so I knew it was at Hampden Park, and I knew it was him, but I didn't know it was against Scotland. But it was like a ridiculously long goal from out wide. So but they aren't the same team. So we know that, and actually they got a few injuries. I say Schick is actually injured. They got Mark Flecken, who used to play for Brentford's there. So they got a few injuries there to contend with, but then so have we. So uncertain how it's going to pan out. But what do you predict for this one? What are you thinking?
I think slightly two scenarios. I think if Saliba's back, I don't think they score and we win 2 or 3-0. I think if Saliba doesn't play, I think they do score, and I think we win 2-1 or maybe draw 1-1. I don't think it'll. I don't know. For some reason in my head, it largely hinges on Saliba for this game. Just because I think they will go for it, and he brings that kind of calm serenity to the back line. I think he will play though, and I think we'll win 2-0.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've gone 2-1. We've only actually played them once, or that I could find. That was like in the Emirates Cup back in 2024. I think it was just I think it might have been in the agreement for selling Saka. So we won 4-1 quite comfortably. But again, it's pre-season, whatever. So yeah, I think we're the better team, but who knows what can happen? Who knows which one they'll turn up? And then let's hope it just makes our life easier. And then look, there's other big games. We're all wanting once Man City to play very hard, very long games against Real Madrid. So that's coming up. What else we got? We got PSG versus Chelsea, Liverpool Galatasaray, Bayern Munich Atalanta, Sporting versus Bodo Glimt, Tottenham versus Tottenham.
Honestly, it wouldn't even surprise me if they beat Atletico Madrid, and I kind of want them, because I feel like if they do, then that kind of like keeps them going and it distracts them slightly from the league as well. So I want them to beat Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't be surprised if somehow, no matter how shit they are, they do that. And then Barcelona versus Newcastle. So that's just two box of frogs fighting each other. Just that's just a goal fest waiting to happen.
Yeah,
is there anything else that stands out from that?
No. I was really excited. I was really pleased that we aren't on the same night as that Newcastle Barcelona game, especially the night where the where the game's at. Where's it? What's it? St James's Park. So that's Tuesday night. St James's first up, and I am absolutely buzzing for that game because, like you said, that could be 3-3 and 2 sendings off each. Or I'm buzzing for that. And I actually kind of have an eye on. I think Bodo Glimt will do something against Sporting Lisbon, so I think that is who we'll play in the next round. So I'm interested.
You think so?
Yeah, genuinely.
I'd rather Sporting.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, just I don't want our players. They'll just look at the AstroTurf and they'll get injured. It's like
and you'll be pining for the blades of grass on the Mansfield pitch.
Exactly the blade of grass, the blade of grass on the Mansfield pitch. But look, all for it. There's really interesting matchups here because Liverpool away at Galatasaray, not easy, always vociferous. Paris Saint-Germain versus Chelsea. Don't know what sort of Paris Saint-Germain is going to turn up. They can blow hot and cold. They can be brilliant 1 minute. And I think all eyes on Real Madrid, Man City. I think that's the one that will be a lot focusing as well as a half eye on Atleti Tottenham because it wouldn't. You're right. It would not surprise me if they somehow they shouldn't do, but somehow Do
you think City go through against Real Madrid?
Don't know. Again, there's a lot of inconsistent teams out there. I want them to, and actually, and Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid and City are sort of similar. I don't know how many Real Madrid are performing in the league and stuff, but they're sort of similarly just fallen off a bit, not up to their usual standards. Their superstars aren't really performing. So, it could go either way. I think it slightly favour Man City.
Yeah,
I just hope that it goes to extra time in the second leg and Man City do get through. Because we need them to be playing Bayern Munich before they play us.
For sure. I think they will go through it. I've got a feeling that maybe not quite as badly as how badly we beat up Real Madrid last year, but I think Real Madrid are going to get quite a... Maybe not in the first leg, but I think it will end up being like 3 or 4 goals on aggregate again for some reason. I mean, I know Rodrigo's been injured, and I think
someone said he's got an ACL. Has he got an ACL? He's out.
ACL, yeah, and I think Mbappe might be injured as well. So I just think, and then maybe I'm over-indexing City's performance on Saturday and the fact that was their second string. But I think they'll just be too strong for them.
Yeah,
which is what I want. Right. Like you said, I want them to play Bayern.
Yeah, we do indeed, and but just make it hard, not hard, but not too hard, and take it to extra time on the second leg. Right. Anyway, that's it. We've been going almost 85 minutes. So for Mansfield away, that's pretty good. As I said, it was an interesting game with lots to talk about. So there we go, and we certainly know how to talk. So look, thank you, Andy, for joining me on this Sunday afternoon. Appreciate it.
Not a problem, my friend. Always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Thank you. And as always, you can follow us on Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Insta, on the podcast apps, YouTube at The Grove AFC. Give us a like, subscribe, follow, rating, and all that jazz. The next pod potentially maybe coming from a hotel room in Germany the morning after the night before with Moz. Unfortunately, I do have the misfortune or fortune of sharing a room with him, so we'll see if we might record one Thursday morning. Otherwise, we'll sort something out Thursday evening when I'm back. And there we go. So, thank you for listening. Looking forward to our quarterfinal game against Port Vale. And until the next time, come on, you Gunners.